particularly, of course, the revocation of 370. So that hasn't been a way forward. So there have been opportunities here, and that's what it's going to take. Whether we can make progress with this regime in India or not, I don't know. Certainly it's hard to be optimistic in that regard, but we can't give up. Yes, please.
Well, very nice answer, very good answer. But I would think that it's going to be. I would think there's a political answer. But here's a question that I'll ask you, because since Hindutva, the Hindu extremism is on rise in India, and rise of Taliban in Afghanistan, I foresee, because I have seen the Afghan conflict during the Soviet era, I have seen CIA headquarters in my town for the world, I have seen things firsthand. Based on that, I mean, do you see a resolution to it? Because what I see is that if Hindutva will not gonna back out, if the extremism will not gonna go down in India, and then Taliban on rise, I mean, we can see another insurgency within the area, because if you look at it, I was talking about the map. I mean, if you look at it, all they need to be Afghanistan mountains, into Pakistan mountains, into Gilgit, Baltistan, Kashmir, right there. And they have proven it in the past, and that's what I see, because it may cause a conflict on a full-fledged war between India and Pakistan. And it's been mentioned that if it's gonna be a war, it's gonna be subsequent issues for the rest of the world. No matter what we want to do at that point, I think it can be too late. So what do you think?
Yeah. Let me say that there are some developments here which lead one to be concerned as you are. If the Afghan Taliban, should they come to power, I think it's almost certain that they're going to lend support to the TTP, to the Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan. It's almost certain that they are. And if this succeeds here in something which is already there, in Talibanizing Pakistan, we have to remember that jihadi groups who have supported Kashmir, for most of them, it's less about Kashmir than it is about India. Kashmir is just a means there. If you listen to the rhetoric closely, is a way to free. Now, this is the great nightmare of the Indians. It's the one thing that really scares the Indians, that the Muslim population of India will become a fifth column. This is very concerning. And I don't think enough people recognize here, because the danger of Pakistan becoming destabilized now by what happens in Afghanistan is very, very probable. And that will increase tension between India and Pakistan, and that certainly doesn't help Kashmir. So Kashmir, once again, may simply get caught in the middle of larger forces that are at work.
Last question. Yes. Professor, I have a question that don't you think that this outstanding conflict between India and Pakistan has something to do with the war economy, and both of the military establishment, India and Pakistan, are using Kashmir as a cash cow?
Well, look, the accusations have been made, certainly in Pakistan, that the military is the military loses its raison d'être if there is not an issue with India. Well, I think I see that as too simplistic, really. I think that that there has in the military, from what I can see, there has developed here a sense here that Pakistan has changed. The Pakistan of the 90s, when you could welcome perhaps a Taliban success in Afghanistan because of the fact that it perhaps would take care of the India problem. And we have to remember this, that that the Afghans have gravitated towards India only because, really, they have always, since 1947, they've looked for a counterweight. They've a counterweight to Pakistan, to the extent that that Pakistani-Afghan relations improve, the Afghans don't need the Indians. The idea that somehow, if there was a friendly regime in Kabul, it could alleviate this problem. Fears of India is very real. I guess what I'm getting at here is that there has got to be here willingness to see this in a larger frame. That the Kashmir issue, as important as it is, cannot stand on its own. It is wrapped up with what is going on in the emerging circumstances in South Asia. And that kind of understanding, I think, is going to be necessary here to, as I said before, to think in terms of finding new terms, finding new approaches here, again, with the thought in mind, what is in the best interest of Kashmiris.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Professor. Really appreciate your time and absolutely great.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all we have for today. I want to thank all the audience, panelists, and the members, speakers who have shared their valuable views and remarks with us on this Kashmir. I hope this would not be the last dialogue that we would have. We will continue doing this until we find, just like